Good afternoon. Welcome to today's press conference regarding the ongoing tariff situation. Prince Edward Island Premier Rob Lantz will deliver some remarks, and then we'll hear from the Minister of Economic Development, Innovation and Trade, Darlene Compton, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Agriculture, Minister Bloyce Thompson, the Minister of Fisheries, Minister Zack Bell, and the Minister of Finance, Minister Jill Burridge. Following remarks, we will call upon media for one question and one follow-up. I will now pass it over to Premier Lantz.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. I would say that it's a sad day for Prince Edward Island, a sad day for Canada. I'd also add that it's a sad day for the United States. While we'd hoped that the world's longest undefended border would remain open and free for trade, the reality is that the new tariffs imposed by the U.S. administration are creating unnecessary barriers. Prince Edward Island has been a fair and reliable trading partner for decades. We trade on equal footing, supporting jobs, businesses, and economic growth on both sides of the border. But now we face a challenge we didn't ask for. We've assessed the situation, we've planned, we've advocated, and now we're taking action. Today, we're launching the first phase of our tariff response plan, including new programs to support island businesses as they navigate these challenges. These programs will provide targeted relief, support exporters, and help industries adapt to the evolving trade landscape. We will double our trade missions to expand market opportunities for island businesses. We will work closely with federal and provincial partners to strengthen Canada's response. We'll stand by our industries and ensure they have the tools they need to compete. And most importantly, we'll support people. It's ordinary islanders who will ultimately bear the brunt of all of this. This is a very dynamic and fast-moving issue. We're sometimes learning information through media reports before we get it through government channels. Everyone has opinions. Everyone is reacting in real time. But opinions and reactions aren't what will get us through this. Right now, we're seeing headlines, hot takes, and political posturing. There's a rush to respond, a demand for instant answers. But what we need and what we're asking for is leadership and a way through this. Because in the real world, beyond the outrage and the quick sound bites, islanders need certainty. Businesses need to know what tomorrow looks like, what next week looks like, what the months ahead will bring. We really need to be thoughtful when we discuss retaliation. We have to respond. That's the position we've been put in. But we have to be aware of the impacts on islanders and Canadians. People are already struggling to make ends meet. We're starting with business supports to keep the economy moving and to protect jobs. But the long-term effects of these tariffs will impact every single person in this province and across the country. We need to weather this storm together. Remember, U.S. businesses and American families, we're all going to feel the real impacts of this. Our friends, our neighbors, everyday Americans, they didn't do this. They didn't want this. They're facing the same challenges we are. While we push for solutions on international trade, we can't ignore the barriers that exist within our own country. Islanders already pay the price for trade barriers at home. We face expensive bridge and ferry tolls just to access the rest of Canada. And these costs put island businesses at a disadvantage and add an extra burden to our economy. We need to end those tolls. That will be my primary message to the Prime Minister and my colleagues across the country when we meet in a very short time. P.E.I. is a part of Team Canada. We're all in. I've replaced my Prince Edward Island lapel pin for the Canadian flag. I think we need solidarity across this country. But we recognize Prince Edward Island is a very small player. Our decisions alone will not make huge waves across the U.S. But collectively as a country, we can stand up. The true north, strong and free. Team Canada will make an impact. We need decisive action and leadership from Ottawa. I'm looking forward to discussions with the Prime Minister and my provincial colleagues here in a very short time. And we need to develop a clear path forward. Because this is not just a trade dispute, this is real life. This impacts real people. These trade restrictions are not good for our province. It's not good for business. It's not good for our future. But the reality is these tariffs are here. Hopefully not for long, and we must respond. Our Cabinet Committee on Trade Relations joining me here today. They have been meeting with businesses, strengthening ties with our partners, and knocking on doors where it matters most. Today, we're announcing the first step in our plan, which includes removing American products from our shelves by the end of the day today, launching a couple of new programs, doubling the number of trade missions, and we'll continue to break down internal barriers between provinces in this country. We're ready to act, we're ready to lead, and we're ready to protect our future. So thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Minister Compton for some remarks from her.
Thank you, Premier, and good afternoon, everyone. As we face the current geopolitical landscape, we must take action to support our island business community. We don't need to look far to see the profound effects that these U.S. tariffs will have on our local businesses, industries, and overall economic growth. As Minister of Economic Development, Innovation and Trade, I want to ensure that our businesses have the necessary tools to compete globally and to continue to showcase our island products and services in every corner of the world. Innovation P.E.I., an organization that has been working with many groups already, will be doubling the trade missions, as the Premier mentioned, and offers to export companies across the island the ability to join those trade missions. We have strategically planned multiple destinations connecting with buyers, sellers, and distributors in places like Canada, Europe, Southeast Asia, Mexico, and the Caribbean this year. The calendar will be continuously expanded and updated as new market research becomes available. The trade missions calendar can be found on the Innovation P.E.I. website. Through Innovation P.E.I., we are also launching the Export Enhancement and Diversification Fund, which will provide non-repayable assistance to our business community affected by these changes. The fund will cover up to 60% of eligible costs to a maximum of $32,000. These costs will cover everything from market research, advertising and promotion, market strategies, and travel costs for trade shows and other events. We are also rolling out the Tariff Working Capital Program, which offers relief loans to businesses affected by tariffs. By working together, P.E.I. businesses can build and strengthen their portfolio by investing in new global export markets and maintaining and enhancing their existing markets. People want to work with P.E.I. because of the great products we offer, and as a government, we will do whatever it takes to help showcase island products to new markets. Innovation P.E.I. will continue to support businesses through various existing programs that can help with navigating these current challenges. We are committed to ensuring P.E.I. remains a dynamic and prosperous place to live, work, and do business. And we know this is a fluid situation, but we will advocate every day for this to come to an end But until that does, we will continue to announce programs for our businesses as need arises. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next we'll go to Minister Thompson,
Thanks.
Minister of Agriculture, Justice and Public Safety.
Thanks, Premier. Today is a troubling day for our primary industries. Against the advice of almost every major economic player in North America, one person has decided to impact the lives of many, many Canadians. On P.E.I., our agriculture industry is our primary economic driver. It accounts for 10% of our GDP, and last year we sent over $900 million worth of products to our friends in the U.S. Over the past week, I've held calls with every major commodity on P.E.I. These calls were meant to identify the harms of these tariffs that could identify the areas where we could help. While none of us can understand the logic of these tariffs, we all agreed that we must keep our act and keep the industry rolling. We've been through political charged trade barriers in the past, and just like last time, we will get through this together. I've had the opportunity to speak to our federal agriculture minister, and I plan to start the discussion on agri-stability programs which help farmers with income losses. I am confident that our federal government knows the importance of working with our farmers. But in the meantime, the Department of Agriculture will be increasing investments in the product and market development program that identifies new markets, the Strategic Industry Growth Initiative, the Business Development Program, and we will be topping up agricultural initiatives that apply to all programs from Innovation P.E.I. We know that these are long-term initiatives for our industry, and we'll be connecting with our industry partners regularly to see what else is needed. Markets are not made overnight. I'll wrap up by speaking to farmers directly. You're a resilient bunch. And as I've said already, we've been through this before. We'll tackle this the same way we did last time, together. My department is all hands on deck to support this industry. If you have any questions, reach out to the main line. It's probably on our website. Let's not forget that P.E.I. is home to some of the best food products in the world. And I look forward to continuing to showcase what we have. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Minister Bell, Minister of Fisheries, Tourism, Sport and Culture.
Thank you very much, Premier, and thank you, Islanders, for joining us today. The seafood sector in P.E.I., it's not just an economic pillar, but it is actually a way of life for all of our communities and our rural communities specifically. Over the years, our seafood sector has worked hard to build strong relationships and business opportunities in the United States. The U.S. is a significant market for the P.E.I. seafood products that we all love and know: lobster, snow crab, mussels, oysters, halibut, and quahogs. In 2023, P.E.I. exported approximately 44.7 million pounds of seafood to the United States with a value of over $346 million. But the relationship is not one-sided. An example of this: the U.S. exported 33.9 million pounds of live lobster to Canada in 2023. Almost a quarter of that came to P.E.I. processing plants. The U.S. does not have the capacity to process all the lobster that they catch. They need us. There's no question that our seafood sector will be impacted. Finding new markets and expanding our existing markets outside the U.S., as Minister Thompson had mentioned, will take time. We will have a strong delegation traveling to the Seafood Expo North America and are encouraging our businesses that may not typically attend to look at this as an opportunity. Later this month, and of course the Seafood Expo Global, which will happen later this spring. These expos welcome buyers and markets from all over the globe and are a great opportunity for our sector to meet new clients. We'll continue to work with Innovation P.E.I. on these and other potential trade missions. The government of P.E.I. is committed to supporting island industries through this period of uncertainty. We know there will be a need for workforce support, working capital, and diversification. And lastly, I just want to say that we know that we have the best seafood in the world. I would encourage all islanders to support our local seafood businesses and add P.E.I. seafood to your meal preparations. Buy local and buy often. Thank you.
And finally, we'll go to Minister of Finance, Jill Burridge.
Thank you, Premier, and good afternoon. I want to start by reassuring Islanders that we have been working hard on preparing for these tariffs in the case that the announcement was made. This morning, we started removing all American liquor from the shelves at P.E.I. liquor stores. This province had a number of strong economic years that has put us in a good position to be able to manage this uncertainty. It's inevitable that these tariffs will impact our economy, our wages, our exports, our GDP. The extent of the impacts depends on a number of factors, and they include how long these tariffs will be in place, how long American customers continue to buy Canadian, as well as the increase in sales to other provinces and countries. As we review our projections and our upcoming budget and consider how we sustain those programs and services that make a difference to Islanders, we know we will have to make some tough decisions. Those decisions won't be made in isolation, but in conversation with our federal partners as we learn more about the supports to come. And with the long-term perspective of maintaining the prosperous and welcoming island we know. We will continue supporting Islanders and keeping more of their own money in their pockets. This year alone, the changes we've already made to the income tax system are projected to enable Islanders to keep a total of $20 million in their pockets. We are proud members of Team Canada and of Team P.E.I., and as such, we are committed to spending your tax dollars wisely and responsibly. We are reviewing our procurement practices, including the U.S. contracts within core government, to identify if there are Canadian or international alternatives. We have prioritized local products and services in the past, and we will continue to do so. I want you to know that we will be relentless in seeking alternatives to any American contracts we hold, while ensuring the prudent use of taxpayer dollars, and that government services and programs continue. Over the last number of years, we've been investing in our province, in the infrastructure, and in our people. Our overall employment is at an all-time high, and nobody wanted to be dealing with tariffs, but here we are, and we're going to deal with them head-on. I have confidence in Premier Lantz, the rest of my colleagues. I have confidence in our plan, and I absolutely have confidence in Islanders and as we move through this together. Thank you.
We will now call upon media for a couple of brief questions. If you do have a question, please signal so and step up to the mic.
Cody McKay with CBC News. One question, one follow is tough for 5 ministers and a lot of announcements, but here we go. Premier, you said that this is phase 1 of supports for Islanders. How long do you anticipate this going? How many phases are on the game plan?
I think I referred to some of the uncertainty and the fast-moving nature of this whole issue in my initial remarks, and I think what's troubled all of us about this issue from the beginning is the uncertainty and the chaos. So predicting the future and future phases, how long this may last, is very difficult right now. But I just want to start by again emphasizing the real impacts of this. There's been, when we talk about it, we talk about national economies and balances of trade and industries and businesses, and we have to keep in mind that underlying all of those is people, and they are the ones that will feel the impact, all of us here. And sadly, those on the margins and the most vulnerable will probably feel those impacts first and most strongly. So I want that. It is a very sad day to have to find ourselves in a trade war with a long-standing partner who we've had a long-standing beneficial relationship with. So it's sad and emotional, and we're all a bit angry, but it's time for us to figure out how to move forward under these circumstances.
This one's for
unfortunately.
Minister Burridge or Minister Compton. You both, as well as other ministers, have mentioned supports and what's happening for Islanders and how they can access that. When does that start? Can they tap into those soon, today, next week?
We're looking at this for immediate release, but we are still working on one of the two programs, and I'm sure there will be others if we need them. But as the Premier said, you know, it's a very volatile situation, and we don't know what next week looks like. But, you know, just want to ensure Islanders that we are there for them.
And Mr. Burridge, you had an operating budget you were planning to deliver here soon. So how does that change anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously, you know, a significant impact to the operating budget and a huge consideration as we move forward. We just have to ensure that we build in contingency and what that looks like and what that could be to ensure that we're supporting Islanders individually or business along the business channels. So that's what we're looking at is contingency. The other piece is, you know, GDP. If there's a hit to GDP, then that kind of impacts our overall net to GDP, which is kind of an anchor in our budget. So these are the things that we're taking into account.
Thank you.
Stu Neatby from The Guardian. Just wonder, not sure if this is a question for the Premier or the Minister of Finance, but what's the total allocation for all the programs that are being announced today? How much will this cost taxpayers?
Again, it depends on how long this situation goes on, how deep the impacts become over time, and how long we have to run these programs. Again, there's too much unknown. We've done some economic modeling, but of course you sort of have to do that on what an annualized impact would be. But without knowing how long this will go on, we can't say for sure exactly how this is going to affect us from a financial standpoint. And as the Minister said, we've got to build in a certain amount of cushion. And there's no doubt, though, that it's going to be reflected in our budget. So, you know, there's, again, I reflect back on what the impacts on everyday people are going to be in this situation, and I think we have to keep that foremost in our mind. We've spent years talking about, not just in this country, but in the United States and around the world, talking about cost of living issues and all the factors that have contributed to that, like interest rates and so on and so forth. You're all familiar with that conversation. And when we finally started to get a handle on some of those things that were driving that issue, Donald Trump has thrown this on top of the heap of issues we've had to deal with. And unfortunately, it feels like we've got less control over this than we did over some of the other things that drove that issue. So I think we have to be very careful when we consider the types of retaliatory approaches that we're taking. It's going to affect Canadians. So it's a difficult time, and it's likely that we're all going to suffer some of the consequences here, but we're in this together. I look forward to meeting with my provincial colleagues and the Prime Minister here in just a few short minutes, actually, and discussing how we plan to move forward.
Surely, though, there's an amount budgeted for these programs. We're just about to have a budget tabled. I mean, Nova Scotia has a $200 million contingency fund. Do we have a similar contingency fund built into the budget this year, and how much is it?
Building in a contingency fund that would be, you know, that is built for P.E.I. and that will be made available when we table the operating budget.
Hi, Raphael Caron from Radio Canada. Can you tell me, can you repeat in French a little bit the provincial response to the threat of tariffs?
Je ne sais pas. C'est très compliqué et je ne sais pas que mon français est si bien pour expliquer en français. Mais surtout, c'est un jour triste, c'est ça. C'est très difficile pour les Canadiennes et les insulaires ici. Mais nous sommes we're very, we're working together to solve this problem together. I'm sorry, my French, particularly under this type of stress, is not very good, but I hope that I can have remarks for our French audience sometime a little more coherent. Thanks.
I can ask you the next question in English. You mentioned that you've been collaborating with local businesses. What have they been telling you throughout this whole process?
Well, I will say that I think a lot of businesses and industries in Prince Edward Island who trade with the U.S. Are probably reluctant to give up those hard-earned relationships that they have. We will support them to identify and build new markets where they think they can do that, but I think there's going to, and not just our industries here, I think that our customers in the U.S. would like to find a way to weather this storm. We hope that it's a short-term storm, but I think that that's something that we should, above and beyond the things we've announced here today, I think there's a very human component here in building relationships between decision makers, governments, decision makers, but also people who are in trade relationships. I think there's probably, I can say with certainty that there is a lot of angst on the other side of the border as well. People who depend on the products that we sell them and who serve customers on their end. There are impacts to citizens on both sides of the border, and so building those relationships has taken decades, and it's going to take a lot of effort to keep those in place. And I think that's the first line of defense here, but we are building contingencies and programs and alternatives that we will turn to if necessary.
And that is all the time that we have for questions today. Thank you very much, folks.